As Mike mentioned, my name is Beth Gray, and I work at the Aging and Disability Resource Center for the Northern Region of Alaska, more commonly known as ADRC North. You'll be glad to know that when we answer the phone at ADRC North, we don't say, "Good afternoon, welcome to the Aging and Disability Resource Center of the Northern Region of Alaska. This is Beth, how can I help you?" Like, it doesn't work out that way, so we do just say ADRC North. Tonight, we're going to be talking about aging in place and making a plan for the future you. If you did not already grab one of the blue folders that's on the back of the table, on the back table there, you probably want to do that. We're going to use those to have some discussions this evening, and it's also just a resource for you. It has some of the forms that we're going to talk about tonight and some of the, actually some of the slides that we have this evening. So first of all, I guess the question that people ask me pretty frequently is, what does it mean when we're talking about aging in place? And the answer that we always give is kind of, it depends on who you ask. Generally, we just define it by the CDC definition, which is the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income, and ability level, which I think is a pretty decent definition. And it's pretty much what everybody wants to do. Every single person is hoping that they will be able to live in their community, in their home from today until their last day. And that is the goal of ADRC North as well. It's our goal to help people find the supports and services to do just exactly that. Who's the future you? Spoiler alert, it's just you. Right, so the future you, for the purposes of this discussion, is thinking about the ideal you, the you who's safe and well and happy and living in a community that you love, the you whose life feels multidimensional and rich and filled with purpose. So not the you that is just making it, not the you who is worried or fearful of your home or your community or what's going to happen next, but the ideal you. So when we're talking about you aging in place in Fairbanks, the last thing that we really have to talk about is place, right? So we've talked about aging in place, we talked about you, and now we just want to talk about the place. And I do just want to give you the world's shortest disclaimer. I'm not an expert on the following topics, the ones that we're just going to talk about for a few minutes here. I don't have any hard data to back these things up. There is data all over the place. The data that I'm using today is the data that we see every single day at ADRC North. It's the data of humans who call ADRC looking for help and looking for support for themselves or for someone they love. And also this next little section is a little bit philosophical. And I think that pondering philosophical ideas is fun and interesting. And if you think that I'm a bag of nuts, you're in good company and you can just ignore this part. But there are some things that I'd like to just touch on this evening before we talk about the soup to nuts portion of aging at home. It's really critical when we're talking about aging at home that we begin by talking about our communities. And we're all members of a number of different communities, of course. We are citizens of the world, the Western Hemisphere, right? You get the idea. We can move right down to our houses and being in here. We're citizens of a lot of places, but to really fully participate in a vital community that's supportive of its aging population, we have to consider livability. And you're probably starting to hear that word in the news and in a lot of publications right now. Livability is all the rage. And don't worry, not only do you have, what happens if I have to cough and I'm wearing this thing? Terrible, sorry, Dave. You have a handout there in your thing that I gave you on the blue sheet, and it's right behind the common forms list on your left-hand side. And I blew this one up for you so that you have a copy of it. And we're going to get a bigger copy of this on here too, but people who want to know what this says right away. When we're talking about livability, we're talking about a supportive community. And we really when we're trying to create a supportive community, whether that is in the world, whether that is in the United States, whether that is in Alaska, or in our neighborhoods, or even in our homes, we really have to consider all of the ideas that livability contains and then make thoughtful decisions to support the features of livability. And really, those features are supported by two major things. And the first one is lexicon, and the second one is legislation. So, so here's the big thing that you have in your hand. And when we talk about livability, there are these 8 domains. This particular one was designed by AARP. And you can see that there are built-in environmental segments, which is like housing, outdoor spaces and buildings, and transportation. And then there are social environments, health services, community support, social participation, respect and social inclusion, communication and information, and civic participation and empowerment. And this is what the AARP and in fact the WHO, the World Health Organization, considers to be the 8 things. They consider these to be the 8 things that make a community livable. And now that you've heard it, if you haven't heard it before, you'll see it 400 times in the media. Because I think just day before yesterday, they came out with the list of the most livable cities in the United States, and they came out with the most livable cities in Alaska, and they talked about all of these 8 domains. Again, if we're saying that it's lexicon that drives livability, if it's one of the things that drives livability, we should define lexicon. And so lexicon is the vocabulary of any language or an idea, a school of knowledge. It is, therefore, lexicon of aging refers to the words and society or an individual uses to speak and write about the topic of aging. I think that I would argue that the language that we use, the language that surrounds an idea, the language that we use to speak and to write and to think about any idea is what changes perception. And if you want to follow me down that crazy rabbit hole, I think it might be the only thing that does change perception. We've seen historically, we've seen famine and flood that have destroyed a people. But it didn't change their will, it didn't change their language, it didn't change their culture sometimes, or even often. It simply moved it to another place, or it added some new aspect to it. We've seen many groups of people throughout history that have been tortured or killed in mass. The oppressive nature of a government has borne down on people, and still it hasn't changed perception. It hasn't necessarily changed the way they did things. It may have driven them underground, it may have moved them to another part of the world, but when we change language, when we start speaking differently about a topic, about any topic, it changes our perception of it, and therefore it changes the way we work with it, it changes the way we think about it, and ultimately it changes the way we treat people. And so, if the way we change people's perceptions about any topic is to change the words that we use to surround, speak, and write about that topic, if that's the only thing that changes it, the words that we choose to discuss people's needs and desires should not infantilize, degrade, or dismiss the issues that surround aging. And so I want to talk about those 3 things for just a second. It's really important that when we work with aging, we don't infantilize those who are aging. In other words, we don't treat them like children. And we don't apply the words that we use to speak about aging. We don't borrow words from children's issues. For example, one of our pet peeves, well, at least my pet peeve at ADRC North, I think it's all of ours, is when people refer to absorbent undergarments as diapers. When we are older and we have incontinence issues, you do not have to wear a diaper. No one should tell you that you have to wear a diaper. No one should hand you and say, here, put on this diaper. And you shouldn't say it to yourself, because that infantilizes you, and naturally that makes you feel more helpless, right? If we're looking at infants, they're more helpless. They need only care from someone else. Their whole life depends on someone else. And if you begin to say it, you begin to believe it. Another word that I think is really important, or group of words, is daycare. We should never say that we're sending our elder loved ones to or going to daycare. Daycare is for children who cannot be trusted to be by themselves at home. Daycare is for individuals who cannot function without the care of someone else. And so it's an easy shift to just say, why can't we call it adult day? An adult day center. And so shifting that away from infantilization becomes really popular, or really important when we talk about topics. Another really important thing is using sort of popular language to talk about aging. And we used to say a lot, if somebody was going to an assisted living home in the 50s or the 30s or the 20s, chances are good they were going to an old folks home. We have changed that language, of course, to an assisted living home. We used to say if grandma couldn't remember the names of all of her children, or if she started talking to a cat that wasn't there, we used to say that she was senile, which again implies something that's degrading. And now we are using the word dementia. My spidey sense tells me that we're going to stop using the word dementia, actually, because it contains the root from demented. And maybe we should. And I don't know what it's going to be replaced with. I'm not a linguist of any kind, but it's one step better. But it's important for us to just not hang on to popular words that become used almost as if by rote, that are accidentally degrading. Most people don't mean to have that happen. Most people don't mean to say, if they say old folks home, they just don't know the term for it. And so what we spend a lot of time doing is just gently suggesting a different word. The last one then is just dismissing aging, because it's a fine line. We don't want to pretend like aging isn't happening. I mean, God willing, it's going to happen to all of us. We want to age because the alternative, right, is, and so we don't want to also dismiss the difficulties that people have during aging and the actual process that's happening to your entire body, to all of your relationships, to everything. And so dismissing it is just as bad. And some of that dismissive language is meant to be complimentary in some ways. For example, the use of the word feisty. Man, my grandma hated feisty. She was 4'9". She weighed 80 pounds, soaking wet. And people called her feisty because she was not feisty. She was formidable, is what she was. And she was an advocate. And so maybe what people mean by feisty is they mean formidable, or they mean advocate. But again, there's that mix of trying to be complimentary and trying to be funny maybe at the same time, where you say, oh, that old gal's feisty. Well, I don't want to be feisty. I want you to listen to what I'm saying about aging. Yep, I might be funny about it. Yep, I might be trying to put the best light on it, but I'm also trying to communicate with you. So please don't dismiss me. And then the other one is just, again, being dismissive in the media. Things like showing young and vital as being the only thing that matters, and when you're older, the only thing that you show is, like in the commercials, the only thing they show is people getting helped by someone, right? You're holding on to grandma's arm, you're holding this, and the youth and vitality is great, and aging is hard, and nobody wants to do it. We can make progress with lexicon. We've done it before. We have taken the disability community and we have changed the language of disability and we have made it something better. It's not perfect by a long shot, but we should be thinking about that, and those of us who are in the business and in our aging should demand a better lexicon to speak about aging. We've done it with, other things. You can name them all. We've done it with race and ethnicity. We have made the language better, and we should continue to do that, especially where aging is concerned, especially since we are hoping to do it. The next thing, of course, that is going to support domains of livability is legislation. And this doesn't mean only, lawmaking. It also means policy and procedure of any system. So it's the policy and procedure of Medicare. It's the policy and procedure of private insurance. It's the policy and procedure of getting a new driver's license over the age of 80. Turns out that is a whole new ball of wax, right? There are a number of policies and procedures that we can consider to be under legislation. Following legislation doesn't have to mean just calling your legislators or just voting or just taking a part in a rally. It can also just mean being informed on topics and then spreading that good information. So the policies that are created, being aware of them and then being an advocate for yourself and your friends is really important for livability. And if you're playing the home game, you can see that, if you have this piece of paper, you can see that legislation really informs the top curve of livability. It informs housing and outdoor spaces and transportation, and even obviously it comes together at those little pieces where civic participation and employment sort of fall under legislation, and then health services and community supports fall under legislation. The rest of it has to do with lexicon, right? Social participation, respect and social inclusion, and communication and information. So awareness and advocacy are powerful tools. You can seek out information from well-vetted organizations like the WHO, the American Council on Aging, the AARP, and others to help you get that information. And participation is key. You don't have to be an expert, but you do want to participate so that when any of these livability problems come about or issues come about or you want to change something, you have a mechanism for doing that. Really, awareness and advocacy are critical when you're navigating systems like healthcare, finance, and available services. Which brings us back to you, right? So ends the soapbox portion of the presentation this evening. So when we come back to you, because all of these domains impact you, lexicon impacts you, legislation impacts you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. My grandfather used to always look me in the eye, and he was this giant Finnish man. If you know the Finns, they can be either these small, wiry people or these big halibut slabs of people. And my grandfather was one of those halibut slabs of people, and he had these piercing blue eyes, and we'd sit at the breakfast table together because I was fortunate to grow up in a multi-generational home. And he would be with his coffee cup and his cigarette, because it was back in the day, right, where he just smoked at the breakfast table, which was a delight. And he would look me in the eye and he'd say, kid, no matter where you go, there you are. And I'd sit there and I'd be like, yep, Papa, that is correct. And I'd go off to school and I'd be like, wherever you go, there you are. Yeah, duh. Because I went there and then I'm there, and if I go someplace else, then I'm there too. And I realized later in life, far too late for him to understand, that I now understand, no matter where you go, there you are. No matter where you take yourself, the person going is you. The scenery changes. The body changes, the world around you changes, but what doesn't change is you. And so you are the important factor in aging and aging in place. And so I think it's important that we remember that the person that we want to plan for when we're talking about aging in place is you, not some idealized you, not, although we talked about idealized you and we know that that person is in there, but not the you that you wish you were. Like, I shouldn't pack any like size 2 pairs of pants these days, right? Because that's not the me that's going to fit into the pants. When I'm going on a trip, I need to pack clothes that are going to fit me. I have to pack the things that I want. And so I always show the purple meme. Can anybody relate to packing for a trip? And you're like, oh, I'm going on a 3-day trip. You know what I should bring is 18 pairs of underpants. Or these 9 things that I never use or wear. So what if, instead of preparing for retirement or preparing for our old age or even preparing to go wherever life takes us, we just prepare to be ourselves from today until our last day? Ourselves, just me. It's just me. That might be the best working definition of aging in place that exists. Preparing to be yourself from today until your last day. And so what you have to do is sit down and think about the things that have been derailed for the last 20 years maybe, which might be, what do I want? What does life look like for me moving forward? It gets derailed by all kinds of things. It gets derailed by careers. It gets derailed by children and then grandchildren and by homes and water coming into your basement and cars that don't work or do work too well and vacations and all these kinds of things. And when we sit down and we really think about it, the question is, what will make me feel the most like me? What do I want? And we know what we need. Right? Everybody has seen Maslow, and we know that the goal is to go from physiological needs, which I love that they start with breathing. Well done, right? Breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, right? Staying in one place, and excretion. And then security of body, employment and resources, and then friendship and family and intimacy and self-esteem, and then morality, creativity, problem solving, self-actualization, man. And it's great when I used to show this. I taught school for 25 years and I would show this to kids and they'd be all right. And you're looking at them and they're like right here. And they're just like, yeah, all right, I'm right here. And the only one they want to talk about is this one. Woo, yeah. And they're thinking about what it's going to take them to move up the pyramid. And then you start working with seniors, and don't worry about this. Don't try to adjust your sets. This is as fuzzy as you think it is. It's the only one of these that I've been able to come upon, and I'm too lazy to find another one. When I'm working with seniors, here's Maslow on the regular, and here's actually what I'm talking about when I work with seniors, when we work with seniors very often. You're self-actualized. You made it. You did all the things. You made it straight up the pyramid. You got to self-actualization, and this part of your life, man, is rock solid. You know who you are. You know who you love. You know who loves you. You've got your kids. You've got your family. You've got your dog. You have all the things. You have your esteem is great. This part is even, we're still working belongingness and love needs, man. And what happens a lot of times is these two things come and nail you. Those easy things, food, water, warmth, security, those things come. Let's see if I can do this right. These things, security of body, employment and resources, morality of the family, health and property, and this one, these come and they tip you over. Because they get harder. We know who we are. We don't have to worry about any of those things, but we've prepared for 32-year-old us, and 32-year-old us was a while ago. And so that is why we talk about preparing for aging in place. And when we talk about this, this is on the back side, so you can take this one home. We talk really about having a continuum of care. And that is a created continuum. And it's a continuum that actually exists in our communities. The goal is to remain always here, always living independently, always being able to be at home and doing all of the stuff of life and sipping from these resources as you need them, taking bits and pieces from behavioral health, from information, from home health, maybe transportation, home modifications, caregiver support. You might not need all of these at any given time, but surrounding yourself with them and finding out where they exist is really important for maintaining this bit here. When that pyramid sort of tips over and we have one of those, we have a fall, we have an illness, an accident, an incident that happens in our lives, and that tips over on us and we're like, suddenly, now we're dealing with the very bottom of the pyramid, which you can see just by the way it's built, it's the heavy bit, right? Then you might make it out to one of these, right? You might zip all the way out to acute care, go to the hospital. And the way back might include skilled nursing or rehab. It might include long-term skilled nursing or memory care or assisted living. The goal is still, though, rehabilitation to bring you back to this. So in Fairbanks, if we're going to give these names, right? Acute care, we're going to call it FMH, Fairbanks Memorial. Short-term skilled nursing, we're going to call that Denali Center. Long-term skilled nursing might be the Pioneer Home. Memory care also might be the Pioneer Home. It might be going out even to Anchorage or someplace around that. And then assisted living homes throughout the community. There's nothing that says that this is a one-way street. You don't have to go from acute care and stay there and not make your way back. You might even skip some of these. You might go straight from here to there. But chances are really good you're going to need all of these things at some time, whether it's a short period of time or it's a long period of time, to maintain that homeostasis, but being able to remain safe and well in your home. And so, if you look on the left-hand side of this blue folder, and starting from front to back, we just have a couple of tools for getting and connecting with these resources here. The first one is your responsibility. And this is simply a list of common forms that are needed for a successful meeting of almost any kind. So going home, finding a folder, you can use this blue one, and finding these things and keeping them all together and telling someone where you put them is really important. You find things like your driver's license, a VA card, your DD-214, your social security card. All of these things people are going to ask you about at some point. And having them readily on hand is going to make getting any service a whole lot easier. The next few things that we have, and I'm just going to fan them out like this, are connections to these resources around here. Here we have the private hire list. If you need a CNA or somebody that you love needs a PCA, a personal care attendant in the home, they are listed here. There are some of them. The next one is the Fairbanks Estate Planning Council, who is a voluntary group of people who do everything from legal planning, like wills, advanced care directives, powers of attorneys, trusts, all kinds of things, estate planning of all kinds, to retirement planning, all kinds of things, CPAs, all that business here, voluntary. And then this is the community resource list. And now comes another disclaimer, which is that we are busily updating this list. And please do us the favor. If you find something that belongs on this list and you know that there's something that you would like to see on it, or you see something that's wrong or could be updated, contact us. We answer the phone every day. We get emails every day. And you can contact us via adrcnorth.org, or you can call us at the number, which is listed here on the front. You can also see on the bright yellow sticker that's on the front of this brochure, plus on your packet there, we are in a temporary spot at the Garden Island Center downtown. Our door faces Yes Noodles. So when you're going to get yourself a hoagie at the Garden Island Deli, just pop on by ADRC North on the opposite side. So once again, when we're talking about creating a continuum of care and getting supports and services for yourself, here's the shameless plug for ADRC North. Here's what we do. Our goal is to help people who are experiencing ordinary aging, people who have become disabled as a result of aging or incident, accident, or illness, or perhaps were disabled as a youngster. And we work with people from 22 to 122. We help them get long-term supports and services, mostly in the home. Our goal is for you to remain at home. And yes, that's an altruistic goal. We want you to be at home because that's where people are healthiest and happiest. And it's also a financial goal. It's a fiduciary consideration because Fairbanks Memorial Hospital, which is near and dear to my heart, I love them. They have treated me well every single time I've been there, and I've been there a lot. It's expensive. It's creeping up on $6,000 a day. And so keeping people at home, assisted living homes are expensive, right? In Fairbanks, Alaska, you can expect to spend between, if you're lucky, $6,500 a month for an assisted living home, but it's usually closer to $7,500 a month, up through $32,600 a month, which is full-time care at Denali Center, full-time skilled nursing. So I don't know about you, but when I walk around, dollar bills do not fall out of my armpits. I love that commercial though, where the people are getting that cash back and it's just like floating into their kitchen. He's like, I can control my own cash back. I love it. But that does not happen at my house. And so we also do have the conversations with people who need assisted living or who want assisted living. We have those conversations about how to get that. And there are as many ways to get assisted living care and get in-home care as there are people asking for it. There are at least 4 good avenues that we explore very often, and we can certainly talk about those at another time, but we help people get into assisted living if they want to do that. We are also the front door for Medicaid waiver. And Medicaid waiver is a system by which people pay for more robust in-home supports and services as well as assisted living. So we help people identify their long-term goals. So our goal is to allow you to stay at home, to help you stay at home from today till your last day. We help people identify what their long-term goals are and consider the supports and services that are available. We help people explore options for meeting those goals, and we help people connect with the resources that are available, and then we follow up. We ask you to call us back and say, did you get to them, yes or no? We don't want to be the guys that say, hey, go out and do this, and then never call us again. Good luck, right? We don't just want to hand out phone numbers. We don't want to just say, here, try to call this, and then if you don't get help, go talk to someone else. Call us back. We'll come at it a different way. I keep looking over here because this is my cohort, my lead program specialist, Bonnie Lowe. And I'm looking to make sure that I'm not lying when I say, oh, we do these things, right, Bonnie, don't we? And so I have watched Bonnie specifically joust at a windmill and help and maneuver and call back and call with different ideas. You can watch her. She gets an idea in her mind. She's like, wait a minute, I got to make a phone call. And off she goes, right? Because she's got a new idea, and that's what we want to be. We want to be a trusted resource to help people get the job done, whatever that job is. And I may have talked about this the last time, but I'm going to talk about this person. I don't think he's sitting in the room. That's good. I had a gentleman come to say, listen, here is my plan for retirement. I have 360 55-gallon drums and a bunch of concrete. And I am going to fill those drums with concrete, and I'm going to make myself a house down my land by the river, and I'm going to live in this concrete house. When I heat it up with a wood stove, it's going to stay very, very warm, and in the summer it's going to be very, very cool. It is going to be great. And I said, what about windows? He's like, don't need them. And is that my idea of living well in Alaska? It is not. But he did it, and it's his idea. And he's just as happy as anyone could possibly be, living in a home that I would never, I'm pretty sure, he didn't mention a floor. I don't think there is one. I think it's dirt. And good for him. It's not, I guess I tell that story because it's not for us to decide what you want. It's not for us to decide what's good for you. You don't come to ADRC North and we say, well, you know what you've really got to do. We try to say, what do you want to do? And then we try to make it happen. And weird things happen all the time. Come to us. We love a good weird story. I promise not to tell it. He told me I could say that story. As long as I didn't tell anybody where it was, because, very cool house. So the first question that I think that we always want people to ask is, where are you? Where are you right now? What do your long-term goals look like? What kind of supports would you like to have, or what kind of supports do you know that you need? And that's as a person who is aging and as a person who loves that person who's aging. Whether you are a person who needs care or you're a person who gives care or you are both of those things, sit down and have a long talk with yourself and say, where am I really? And what do I want? What do I want this life to look like? And then begin to explore your options. We have some options that you can begin to explore here. You can call us and talk about that. You can talk about it with your friends and your neighbors, the person in the store. It kind of doesn't matter, your doctor. Then connect with those resources that you choose to support your needs. The problem is like, here's where lots of people stop. Like, well, you know what I need. And they'll say in our office, well, this is what I need. And I need this kind of stuff. And we say, okay, great, here are all the resources. Let's start giving a call. No. Or life gets in the way, or things get too busy, or you're my mom. Hi, Mom, I love you. But you didn't get any of these things. Like we stopped right here. I said, you said, here's what I want. And I said, oh, here's how you get it. And you said, oh, no, thank you. Right? And then follow up and make sure that those needs that you have are being met. And not just met kind of. Not, okay, I hired the person that you wanted me to hire. And we don't really get on very well, and I don't really like it, and I'm not having a good time, and I'm not having a fun day, and this is not for me, but okay, I'll just get through it. No, follow up. Change it. Caregivers and ideas and choices are like a pair of shoes. The ones that I like aren't the ones that you like. The ones that fit me aren't the ones that fit you. Sometimes I get a pair of shoes and I put them on and go, oh, heavens no. And sometimes you get them and you love them so much that you wear them out and you have to get another one. It's the same with this. Don't just wear the pinchy shoes. Don't wear the old shoes that don't have soles on the bottom anymore because you can't bear to part with them. Check in with yourself. Check in with the people who love you. Is this working? And so again, you aren't meant to necessarily have to read the small print, but you know what it is, right? Identifying your goals are going back to those things in Maslow. Like, where is the needle stopping for me? What's the one thing? I was sharing with Mike earlier tonight. Hi, Dad, I love you. My dad got very, very sick this winter, and he got Guillain-Barré syndrome. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a paralytic disease. It starts paralyzing you from the bottoms of your feet to the top of your head. And when it gets to this area, it becomes really tricky because it can paralyze your diaphragm and then you die. And my dad, luckily, it stopped right at his knees because my mom is a genius. And she said, "Why did you fall over?" And he's like, "I don't know. My feet just came out from underneath me." And she said, "Nope, this isn't right. Hospital City, sucker." But it has taken him a long time to get back and get his brain back. Part of it was also a dementia state, a wildly, actually demented state. It was demented for a long time. And he got back, but boy, right now his needle is fluctuating. Sometimes his biggest things are just safety needs, like just his health and self-determination. And sometimes he does a great job of that. And really, he's got all of this, and he just kind of goes back and forth. And it can change on a daily basis. So think about what impacts also your goals. Not just what do I need to do, but what are the impacts on there. And then explore what those things are and connect. We kind of already talked about those things, exploring, starting with yourself, looking at examples and talking to trusted experts. Sometimes those trusted experts are just people you know. You see them and you're like, I want to live my life like that. Yes, that's it. That person's really got it down. Buy that person a coffee and sit down and say, man, just listen. What are you doing? How'd you get there? Choose what you're willing to add or subtract. Man, that's a big one. What are the choices? And a lot of times, I tell you, that comes down to some tough things. Choices sometimes are houses. Choices sometimes are cars, right? I'm going to call myself out and say, I cannot drive anymore. It is time for us to sell this house in which I have raised my children and I have loved my spouse. And it is time for us to go so that we can continue to raise our children and love each other. They're tough ones. Not suggesting that that's, well, just add or subtract some things. It's not like chocolate chips. Then work to make the model meet the reality that you desire, not that someone else desires. I know, I'm the worst. I'm the bossiest of my parents' children. And I wear that badge proudly. And I walk in and I'm like, hey, Mom, bam, 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 bam. You've got to do this, and this. And you know what? I'm an expert at it, so and somebody should listen. Does she know? I love you, Mom. She's watching, I'm sure. But meet the needs. Make sure that things meet the needs that you desire. Yes, it's important to listen to what your kids and your grandkids and everybody else and your spouse is saying. But you've also got to listen to that still small voice. What do you want? What does this look like? And then connect. Start with your friends and family. Start with that person that is doing it well. Educate yourself. Contact people. Connect with them. And then go ahead and use those things. Because I'm going to go back to this slide again. Use the services that are in the community. And do that not just for yourself. Do it for the person next to you. And do it for our community. Because these services are here to help, and if there's no one to help, they go away. They aren't going to be funded in perpetuity. They aren't going to just make it accidentally. Use the services that are here, and the ones that you want. I mean, I'm not saying you have to, don't go to the hospital right now and say, well, I'll go ahead and take out my appendix. I really need to support you guys, and I think you should it's the one thing I have. It's not that kind of a thing. But use the services that are here so that they exist when you may need them or someone else does too. And then follow up, check in again. After that, just check in. Make sure that you evaluate where you are on the continuum of care. What do you need more of? What do you need less of? What do I need to add? What can I subtract? And then control the things that you can. It does come down to control at some point. And so controlling the things that you can is the right-hand side of your blue packet. The very first thing that we have here is an authorization for release of information. If you're coming to talk to us at ADRC North, or you want us to talk to somebody on your behalf or with you, you need a release of information. It's the simplest way for us to say, yep, you can talk about my protected health information, because we take that very seriously. I'm sure I like you very much, but I do not want to go to jail for up to 5 years and have a $100,000 fine because I didn't get a release of information. That's not for me. So releases of information, everybody has them. Hospital has them, doctors have them, all kinds of people have them. Sign one and use it if you need it. The next thing is power of attorney, and I would just remind people, I'm sure that everybody knows this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The power is yours to give. We get a lot of people who call us and say, oh, I don't want them to take power of attorney from me. And it's like, no, no, no. As long as you have capacity to make decisions for yourself, as long as you have cognition, you decide who has power of attorney that can speak on your behalf should you not be able to do that. There are two kinds of power of attorneys. There is a springing power of attorney, which springs into action when you don't have capacity. You get hit in the head with a coconut and you can't speak for 2 weeks. You have a power of attorney that springs into action. Once you recover from the coconut and you regain your faculties, that person no longer is your power of attorney because they don't need to be. Or durable power of attorney. That person that you trust the most in the world can have durable power of attorney starting today. You can make any decisions that you need. My husband works on the slope. He travels a lot. And power of attorney, because if I need to do anything while he's gone from, selling the house and moving to Hawaii, no. Selling the car, no. But important things, if we need something, I can do that. And so durable power of attorney is often for a spouse or a very trusted individual in your life. Everybody who is over the age of 18 and has more than $5 in their pocket needs a power of attorney. Every single person. The cautionary tale is this. I do this for a living, and I love doing this for a living, and I love to share it with lots of people. And so I dutifully packed up all the things for my parents and my aunts and my uncles, and I said, hey, let's have a power of attorney party. And at the last minute, we had a power of attorney party at my parents' house, and everybody filled out their forms and did all this. And at the last minute, our notary, because that's the way you do it, right? A notary has to say, yep, this is it. The notary didn't make it. And so I was like, oh, okay, everybody take these home and cross your hearts and cross your fingers and say that you're going to get this done. And my parents didn't get it done. And then my dad was demented. And then we had to get guardianship. And you know what stinks? It stinks to have to sit in front of a judge and say, yep, I need to take guardianship of my dad because he can't think. And it stinks even more when you have to hire a lawyer to fight against you. What you do. You apply for guardianship and you want to take care of your beloved father or your beloved spouse, and then you have to hire a lawyer to say, well, geez, I don't think that's a very good idea. And to say all the reasons why you shouldn't do that. Now, most of the time it doesn't quite work out that way. Everybody kind of agrees and said, yes, this gentleman obviously needs help, but it still is a hard thing. And it's a hard thing to drag your mom through. And for her, it was a hard thing to drag her daughter through, to stand up and say, yep, dad can't do it. F. Power of attorney. Like, banks are closed right now, but on your way home tomorrow, your bank will do it for free. Find a power of attorney. The next one is an Alaska Advanced Healthcare Directive. Everybody should do one of these, even as just an exercise in mortality, because there are some hard questions in here. When you do this one, sit down and put on the soft music or the music that makes you feel good, and get yourself a adult beverage or a sweet tea that's so sweet it'll make your teeth ache, and do your advanced care directive, because they're going to ask questions like, if you can't speak for yourself, do you want to be fed? And at first, believe me, if you're reading my advanced care directive, my answer is a yes. Do I look like a girl who does not want to be fed? Right? But then they throw in these crazy little things like, if you're writhing in pain and your life is just horrible and you no longer have quality of life, do you want to be fed? Well, I don't know. Depends on how many adult beverages I've had. And so this is tough. But it's so important. Please don't make your children and your loved ones and your spouses have to guess what you want. Don't make them have to say, one time when we were in Hawaii, after he got hit in the head with a coconut and we'd had too many adult beverages, he said that he wanted to be buried in a mayonnaise jar. Don't. Write it down. Tell people what you want to have happen, because this says it all. This is also a notarizing thing. Along with that, I think I put them in the wrong order, but that's okay. Everyone who is over the age of 60 should sign up for the Pioneer Home. Do it today. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to get 60, and when I do, I'm signing up. Because it isn't a situation where you sign up for the Pioneer Home because about 5 of your faces went, oh no, no. You were like, no, that's not happening. You don't know. You don't know when you're going to get hit in the head with a coconut, and you don't know what's going to happen. And if you need that level of care, by golly, give yourself a chance to get it. Signing up for the Pioneer Home does not mean on the day that they've designated that you get to go to the Pioneer Home, the men in gray show up and pack your bags and say, oh no, you said you were going, let's go. It's just a chance. You cannot sick your way into the Pioneer Home. You cannot buy your way into the Pioneer Home. You can't beg your way into the Pioneer Home. The only thing you can do is stand in line. And if you fill this out tomorrow, which is it Wednesday? Tomorrow, Wednesday? Perfect. Tomorrow, if you fill this out on Wednesday, tomorrow, the 19th of July, 2023, everybody who fills it out on the next day is standing behind you. And so you want to have a shot. You never have to use it. But why wouldn't you take 10 minutes to fill it out? Answer, you wouldn't. You just go ahead and do it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then other people, if you have financial need, please do sign up for senior benefit in the state of Alaska. Senior benefit is a cash benefit. We used to call it the longevity bonus. And this is a benefit that is based on income. And it pays either $7,685 or $250 a month. And for some of us, we're like, well, why would I sign up for $76? $76, right? That's that new pair of shoes. That's a couple of days worth of heating fuel, for heaven's sake. One good tank of gas. And so here are some ways to control the things that you can control. You can also control wills and trusts, and there's that Fairbanks Estate Planning Commission or Council list to help you do that. Consult with your trusted family, caregivers, and providers, and recalibrate as needed. Here's my last proviso on this one. When you do these things and you have a power of attorney, and you have a will, and you have an advance care directive, tell people. I told this story the last time, I know it was about my girlfriend Trish and I. Trish Doyle, anybody remember the Doyles in Fairbanks? Trish was my roommate right there at Wickersham Hall, and we went to Mexico one year on the exchange program, and we both did exactly what my dad said not to do, which is do not go out and have too many adult beverages and eat things off of carts in the street in Mexico. And we dutifully did that and went munch, 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 and then ended up with that real bad Montezuma's Revenge, so bad that we used to pin our tickets, our plane tickets, back home to our chests at night. This is a true story. We used to pin them to our thing and leave a note that said, please, for the love of God, if I die in the night, please send my body back to this address. That's telling people where your will is, telling people where your power of attorney information is. Let them know. Right? Go ahead and pin your ticket to your body and let them know that you have it. I have words of gratitude this evening for North Star Council on Aging, which is the parent nonprofit of ADRC North, the Fairbanks Senior Center, and the truly wonderful ADRC North team, without whom I would not be here tonight or anywhere, actually. Thanks to all the individuals, providers, and partner agencies that help individuals and families create networks to support aging in place in Fairbanks. And thanks to UAF Summer Sessions, the Healthy Living Series, and all the incredible presenters this summer. If you haven't been to all of them this summer, come back and go to the ones that are coming up. Now, I know that I am supposed to ask if there are any questions, and I also know that, like any good teacher, I taught bell to bell, and it is 8 o'clock, and I am willing to stay for as long as people have questions. And if you have any, we can ask them in public, or we can talk about them otherwise. Does anybody have any questions I can answer today?
I have one. Long-term care insurance, do you philosophically agree with it? Only if you have means, give up something else and get involved with it? What about that whole question?
So, long-term care insurance is the question. Should you give up something to get long-term care insurance? And my answer is always maybe. I think look at your family. Are people long-lived? Are you going to be, like, to look at me, you wouldn't think it, but everybody in my family lives to be old. My grandmas were 100. My people before them were long, yes. I am for, as a general rule, I am for any insurance that you can afford. If it is affordable, get it. If you are or have ever been, or will be a state of Alaska employee, or you have been offered long-term care insurance as a part of your pension, take it, take it, take it. You can always drop it, but you can never take it again. If you have long-term care insurance, use it. We see people walk in and say, oh, I have long-term care insurance, but I'm saving it for a rainy day. And we're looking at a person, we're like, it is raining. That is an umbrella you are holding. Like, it is pouring, friend. So if you have it, use it. If you can afford it, get it. My folks-in-law self-financed their long-term care insurance, and it cut their need for long-term care from $6,000 a month to about a very manageable $1,700 a month. And so yes, I would say, like a lot of things, get the insurance that you can afford. By and large, I'm for that.
So, won't Medicare pay for my long-term care or my assisted living home or my home care?
Are you setting me up?
Yeah.
No, Medicare will not pay for your long-term care. No, Medicare will not pay for in-home care. How much of it will they pay for? Zero. Medicare pays for zero in-home supports and services. There is one small caveat to that. It's one thin slice, which is if you have been at the hospital and you need to go to a rehab hospital, either a SNF, a skilled nursing facility, or an IRF, an intermediate rehab facility, Medicare will pay for that up to a point. 21 days to begin with, 100 days total for those skilled nursing. Also, they may pay for some small home health. There's a home health department at FMH, and they may pay for some small period of time to have home health, have PT, OT, and maybe a CNA come to your home after a serious illness or prolonged stay at the hospital. So those are the only things they will pay for. If you just generally need help in your home, Medicare will not pay for any of that. If you just need to go to an assisted living home and all you really need is somebody, and this is what I'm going to need really shortly, and I'm just going to love it, like somebody to make my meals and wash my underpants. Like, if you just need that, no. Having said that, I do want to say this, and I am very careful to say it, and I mean it. Medicare is great insurance. Medicare pays for a lot of things. It will keep you from going broke. It will keep you healthy, but you have to be your own best advocate. You have to know what they pay for and know what they don't and understand Medicare. And it's not, I almost said it's not hard. That's a lie. It takes some time. You really do have to get in there and read and look at that legislative part that we're talking about. Policies and procedures, knowing what they do and what they don't do, and talking and having those conversations with your doctors and saying, yes, you pay for this, no, you don't. How come? Why doesn't Medicare pay for it? And having those conversations. But they do not pay for in-home supports and services. Having said that, Medicaid does in a limited fashion. And so we have the two major public healthcare systems in the United States. I love how everybody just paints the United States with this big brush. Oh, we don't have any health care for people. That's not true. Everyone when they turn 65 get Medicare. And you get hospital insurance at 65 whether you want it or not, and you have to take Part B, even your doctor's insurance at 65 whether you want to or not. And Medicare, as in we're going to care for our elders and those that we love. Okay, everybody gets it, 65. Often comes along with your Social Security. Okay. And then Medicaid, think financial aid. So when you get Medicaid, if you have an income or an illness or condition that are serious enough to warrant it, Medicaid comes in and lays over the top of that. And Medicaid does pay for some in-home supports and services. But once again, it's a financial or physical penalty, tax that you pay, right? If you make under $1,000, yes, you're going to have Medicaid. Yes, that will pay for in-home supports and services up to a certain amount. And then after that, there's Medicaid waiver, and we could go down that path for a really long time. And Medicaid waiver does pay for robust in-home supports and services, and it does pay for assisted living home as long as your physicality meets what's called nursing facility level of care. They're not going to pay for it for Beth Gray, who just wants someone to make her dinner and wash her underpants. They should get off your lazy behind and do it yourself, because I have the physicality to do it. But if you're physically incapable or cognitively incapable, it can pay for those supports. Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you. Thank you so much.